What's going on, everybody? It's yours truly, Coach Mike Dub, here with another edition of the Commanders Weekly Recap, known as the Dub Report. It is week 10. We are keeping things rolling around. And of course, if you've been locked in with the Lockdown Defense Sports Studio, you've been caught up to speed with all the up to date things that have been happening across the league, the trades, the injuries, the wins, the losses, the hot teams, the cold teams, all of the above. And of course, I'm here to break down what's been happening on a week-to-week basis with the Washington Commanders. So, of course, we have a lot to talk about coming off of our Week 9 matchup. We'll jump right into it. Um, you know, let's just start out by addressing the elephant in the room, right? We've lost four in a row. This game against the Seahawks did not go well at all on national TV. We didn't play well, specifically on the defensive side of the ball. It looked like we were having the same problems that we've been having all year with guys running wide open, defensive secondary having some miscommunication problems, and then also when they were in position to make plays, just not making plays. Now, of course, we are going against one of arguably probably the best receivers in the NFL right now, in Jackson Smith and Jigba. So he was able to be a focal point of their offense as always, but the other guys were able to go off as well. They had multiple guys with touchdowns. Sam Darnold was able to pick apart our defense. Like I said, there were a lot of miscommunications. It looked like where guys just, either didn't know what the coverage was, or there was one guy thought the coverage was one thing, somebody else thought it was something else. And then we had a lot of guys that were playing injured as well. And we just looked outmatched. Overall, it looked like our roster did not kind of hold up to the roster of the Seahawks. And I know a lot of attention is going to our coaches. A lot of heat has been thrown out to our coaches, specifically regarding one instance that happened that we'll mention soon. But the coaches, yes, they are to blame for certain situations when it comes to miscommunications and things. But there are a lot of times also where the guys were in position to make plays and they just weren't able to make them, or our personnel just wasn't able to match up with the other guys, just athletic. And I think that's more of a personnel issue than it's a coaching issue. So a lot of the problems that we're seeing in these last four losses and throughout the season in general, I really feel like won't be able to get addressed until the offseason comes. And that's not something that we want to hear right now in the middle of a season coming off of an appearance in the NFC Championship. But I feel like this is a major fix that needs to be addressed in the offseason, which is, some roster changes, specifically on the defensive side of the ball, offense as well, but definitely on the defensive side of the ball. I think offense is more of a continuity thing. That's just something that we're going to have to be able to fix. So, like I said, that's something that probably won't be able to be addressed until the offseason. But in the meantime, it looks like Joe Witt and the rest of the defense and just the coaching staff, we're running out of answers. We try to go man, and our guys don't have the athleticism to match up. They're getting toasted out there. We try to go zone, and there's miscommunications. Guys aren't communicating. Whatever the case is, there's people running wide open. Quarterbacks are picking apart the zone. We're not able to get a consistent pass rush. They have too much time. There's just a lot of issues that we're dealing with this team right now that I don't feel like at the core can get addressed right now in the middle of the season because some of them are roster issues. So, needless to say, the Seahawks got the best of us. They were able to do everything that they wanted to do. Our offense was not able to get clicking again for, like I said, the fourth loss in a row. It's been a common thing both on defense and offense. And the biggest loss was, of course, we had a lot of injuries, mainly to Jaden Daniels, who at the end of the game dislocated his arm. Looks like he will be out for the foreseeable future. Not sure if if it's a season-ending injury yet or not, but he definitely would be out for the foreseeable future. And of course, our coach Dan Quinn caught some heat on leaving him in the game during a blowout situation. So, just a lot of turmoil. We wish Jaden Daniels a speedy recovery. We want him to be healthy. We'll see how these things shape out. I think going forward, we're going to have to protect him a little bit more, maybe dial down the RPOs and, try to encourage him to get rid of the ball a little bit quicker. Of course, we're going to invest in building up that offensive line. We took a number one, our first round pick this year was in the offensive line, and we'll probably invest in a little bit more just to protect Jaden, because obviously we have to have him on the field, not only being healthy, but also practicing and get some continuity with our receivers core. So next year, hopefully, we'll be able to build on that. This year, we weren't able to get that continuity. Still 7 weeks left in the season. So we'll see what things shape up if he ends up coming back. If not, we'll see what we have in Mariota and see what we can dig up. But in no way, shape, or form are we throwing in the hat on this season. We still are going out to try to compete every game and try to win every game. And we're going to try to coach our guys and we're going to encourage our guys to go out there and win. From a fan perspective, we're still rooting for this team. I don't believe in tanking. And plus, this is still early in the season. So as long as there's a mathematical chance, we're going to fight. So it's not looking good right now, record wise. We've lost, like I said, 4 in a row, 6 losses on the year. So it's do or die time. We really don't have many more losses that we can stack up if we want to compete for that wild card spot. So we'll see how it goes. But it starts with this week. And this week is another tough one with the Detroit Lions, a team that's not only one of the top teams in the power rankings in the NFL, but also a team that we knocked out of the playoffs last year after a magical season that they had. There's no doubt in my mind that they have circled this game on their calendar. They can't wait to get some revenge. They're playing pretty well right now. Like I said, they're one of the top teams in the NFL if you think about power rankings and if you talk about NFC favorites and just NFL favorites overall. There are a lot of people that are mentioning them. Jahmyr Gibbs is having an amazing season. Jared Goff is, always a steady vet that's been through it all. And then, of course, Amon-Ra St. Brown, another superstar receiver. Every week we play against what seems like one of the top receivers in the league. This week will be no different. Adding to that, we're facing a lot of injuries. As I mentioned, Jaden Daniels will be out. Marshawn Lattimore is now out for the year with a torn ACL. We lost some wide receiver depth. We lost some defensive back depth. It's starting to get to that point of the season where depth is going to matter, and where you're going to have to start, depending on some of those draft picks to come in and not just be special teamers. So maybe we'll get a gem. Maybe we'll get some silver lining. Maybe we'll see some improvements. We're going to need it going against this team, which is another strong offensive team, which we struggled with coming into this year. And they're also pretty solid on the defensive side of the ball. So a well-rounded team in Detroit, a team that's hungry, a team that's in the middle of the hunt for their divisional title, and a team that wants revenge off of last year. So not going to be an easy one Sunday afternoon at Northwest Stadium. So that being said, who are our X factors? What's going to have to happen in order for these guys to succeed, in order for us to be in position to win? Number one is our left tackle that we went out and traded for, Laramie Tunsil. Now, it's really the entire offensive line that we're looking to have a big game from for a few different reasons. But of course, if you think about that offensive line, the number one matchup this week will be Laramie Tunsil against their superstar defensive end and Aiden Hutchinson. So, we don't want him to cause havoc. We don't want Aiden Hutchinson to go out and, have a multi-sack game and force fumbles and be flying around, making plays in the run game, keeping us from establishing anything. So we're going to need Laramie Tunsil to hold it down, neutralize him if possible, but also we're going to need the rest of the offensive line to kind of win their battles. Let's see if we can get something steady going. You'll see in my keys to victory why it's going to be super important for our offensive line to get going. We are a team that we're looking for Bill Krosky Merritt to kind of come out and show that explosiveness that he showed early in the season. But at the same time, we've also seen probably more production from Chris Rodriguez and some of the other backs. So it may be a time that we go, running back by committee. Then, of course, you throw in Mariota in the mix. So it's not likely that we'll be throwing the ball 50 times a game. So in order to kind of keep things manageable and give ourselves the best chance of winning, I think our offensive line is going to have to win in those trenches, and it starts with Laramie Tunsil. And on the defensive side of the ball, our X factor, we're looking at Jonathan Jones, who's going to have to step up big. I mentioned before, Marshawn Lattimore is now out with an injury. There's some other injuries in the secondary. Jonathan Jones is probably going to be called on to take on a little bit more of an active role. And if the Lions have watched any film this year, they're probably going to think that they can air it out on this and think that they can, have their wide receivers run wild. So somebody in the secondary for goodness sake, we are looking for somebody to step up. We're hoping that maybe Jonathan Jones this week. Trey Amos was battling some injuries last week. Not sure if he'll be ready to go. And of course Mike Sandstrill, another one that's going to have a prime matchup. So listen, this is not an easy game. This is a team that's well balanced. They can run the ball, they can throw the ball, they have weapons all over the field. Matchup wise, it hasn't looked good for us this year, but we're looking to see if somebody can come out and play some good ball for us in that secondary. So hopefully that can be Jonathan Jones this week. Finally, let's talk about our keys to victory. So some of these things I alluded to. On the defensive side of the ball, we have to tackle well. Jameer Gibbs is just a baller, and if we don't tackle him on contact, then he will run through those arm tackles, and next thing he's getting a lot of yards after contact for running back, for wide receivers, all of the above, all of the above. Sometimes big plays are not always long passes down the field. They could be a short pass. We may be in position and we miss a tackle. They could be a short run and we are in position to make a play in the backfield and we miss a tackle. So, specifically from our front seven and also our safeties and DBs that are coming down to fill those run lanes and run the alleys, we need to be able to tackle well and make sure we get these ball carriers down when we make initial contact to keep them from having these big plays and having this game getting out of hand. So that's been a problem for us all season. Hopefully we can, do a little bit better. And what that also entails is taking better pursuit angles as well. It's hard to watch a defense that's out of position, overrunning, different plays, not fitting the run well. So when we talk about tackling well, it's not only on contact, but also fitting the run well. And Bobby Wagner, who's one of the best all time at, you know, fitting the run and being in that middle linebacker spot. He hasn't even played well this year, particularly when it comes to that. And some of it is based off of athleticism. Of course, he's lost a step being as much of a vet as he is. But we're just going to have to fix these things and find a way to make contact on the ball carriers and tackle them early. Second thing we're going to need to do is part of the reason why I highlighted Laramie Tunsil and the rest of the offensive line is we want to slow down the game. And what that means is we want to avoid a shootout. We don't want a 30 point game, 40-point game, anything like that. If we can keep this game in the low 20s to teens, then I think that gives us a better chance of winning. Just because we don't have the personnel right now to be going back and forth and going touchdown for touchdown. So whether they're playing bad defense and whether we're having a spark on offense, if it's up to me, I would want the game plan to be more so ground and pound, inch them down the field. If you saw how we did against the Chiefs in the first half, we were able to get some things going until we turned the ball over. So, the short passing game, giving the ball to our playmakers and letting them make plays in the flats, and just overall slowing down the game, staying on schedule. If we can get first downs without getting in third and longs and second and longs, I think that benefits us and plays in our hand in the long run. On the other side of the ball, if we're able to get them in some three and outs and slow down the game for them, keep them from having really big plays, and I think that will work in our benefit. And finally, last but not least, let's force some turnovers. That's what keeps you alive. If you take possessions away from the other team, this is the NFL. It can happen all across the board. It can happen with some peanut punches. It can happen with tip drills. It can happen on special teams, block kicks, anything. Let's just try to take advantage of when we have opportunity to take possessions away from them. And once again, that could lead to keeping them off the field. I think that's the best way to mitigate our defense right now is keep those defensive guys off the field as much as possible by slowing down the game, by forcing turnovers, by making big plays in special teams, and pretty much capitalizing off of all that. So this is a tall task. I'm not saying that this is easy and let's just go out and do it. It's a struggle, but this is what we're in right now. Like I said, we're not tucking tail and throwing the hat in on the season. We're playing every game out to win it, regardless of injuries. We're going to ball with who we have out there. I believe in this team. I think that we still can compete. And I'm rooting for us to go out and execute well to get a win against a tough opponent. So be on the lookout. Let us know what your thoughts are. Let us know if you'll be tuned in to this game and all the other games coming up this week. As always, you can catch us all here on our different channels. Let us know, what your thoughts are going into the season. You can catch all of our content throughout the week on this channel, Lockdown Defense Sports Studio, as well as different platforms. Please feel free to comment, share, like, do whatever it takes so that we can try to get these answers to figure out what the Commanders need. Also, chime in on what the Chiefs need, what the Chargers need, and just football information in general. So, let us know what you think. We're looking forward to another great week. The season is rolling along. Before you know it, it'll be playoff time, and hopefully we'll be on that side of things. But that's all I got this week. It's yours truly. Hope to see you all soon.